women looks like to me. It's not just one or two women, it's a critical mass of women that are gaining this education, economic clout, and using their influence to transform the world. Now, what's interesting about it is we may not like all these women. We may not agree with them all, but we're getting to see that women come in all sizes and shapes with all kinds of opinions, and that's good news. Now what we need to do, by the way, this is a really important point. This is not just good news for women. This is good news for men. Because suddenly we begin to see that men don't have to bear the burden of the external world on their shoulders quite as much. They can share it. I would also say that according to studies that have been done, when you take a group of homogeneous men only, put them in a room to solve a problem, they come up with a set of results, and you take a group of more average people, both men and women, put them in a room to brainstorm that same solution-oriented problem, you get better results from the diverse group than you do from the high-performing group of men. So it's good for all of us. Let me show you a few of the ways we see the world changing as a result of women's influence. So we're going to focus on 5 things, hopefully. Redefining aging and longevity, the workplace, family roles, men, of course, and becoming the marketplace for everyone. So first I want to focus on this redefining aging and longevity. Now, for those of you who don't know it, my background really is in the field of aging. I mean, I've been researching and studying and doing keynotes for years on the baby boom generation and how the aging of the population is really transforming the marketplace. So this is a sweet spot for me. In fact, it's how I got interested in this whole subject of women, because I began to realize that women are really pioneering this. Throughout most of history, in fact, throughout 99% of human history, the average life expectancy for everyone was under the age of 18. 18. Now, if you hone in on the last 1,000 years, what you can see by looking at this chart is that throughout most of history, most people didn't age at all. They died. And women in particular died during childbirth, which makes it pretty ironic that now women are leading this longevity revolution when in fact they were the ones who died young from having children. Now, looking at this, you can see in the 20th century, we saw an exponential rise in life expectancy. On the first day of the 20th century, we saw average life expectancy 47. On the last day, it went all the way up to 78. It got 30-year growth in longevity in just a 100-year period of time. And part of the story that most people don't talk about is the fact that women outlive men by about 5 to 7 years in all species. I was in Alaska a bunch of years ago doing a presentation to the Governor's Conference on Aging, and so everyone in the audience was over the age of 60. Feisty group of people, and I made this statement and I added to it. I said, not only do women outlive men, but if you look at that 80+ age category, for every 100 women, there's only 38 men alive. And there's a woman sitting pretty much where you're sitting. She's in her 70s, very attractive woman. She jumps up, she pounds her hand on the table in front of her, and she goes, yeah, and I've met a lot of those men. They're not very alive at all. Let me ask you a question. Let's do this by a show of hands. How many of you believe in your lifetime you're going to see average life expectancy rise even further for women to say like 80? Yeah, definitely. 85? 90? All right, well, yeah. Well, we probably will. And by the way, according to the National Institute on Aging, they project that by the year 2050, average life expectancy for everyone will be around somewhere between 90 and 95. So living longer is definitely in our future, especially with women outliving men. So it raises all kinds of questions, but the first one is shown, what is it going to be like to be 100? So that is a question we have to ask. What age is old? Before we go any further, turn to the person sitting next to you, just in 1 second, tell them what age, what chronological age you think of as being old.
28.
There's always someone who says 28. All right. up with?
Well, I just say age is a state of mind.
Age is a state of mind.
It's how how you envision yourself, and how you live your life has a lot to do with how old you are.
Absolutely. Anyone else? I heard a 28 before.
I knew how old she was. I was giving her a hard time.
Okay, so let's look at some people who are a little bit older and see what we think. We know in this picture, this is Sophia Loren. She was 65 when this picture was taken, and I think we can all agree she's not looking too bad for 65. Probably got a little help from her favorite plastic surgeon, but whatever. She's not looking too bad. This next picture I'm going to show you was back in the 1860s when average life expectancy was 47, and Whistler painted a picture of his mother. She was just a little younger than 65. So you choose which look of getting older would you prefer, Sophia Loren or Whistler's mother? Now, of course, we don't want to be too superficial here. So what about performance? What about physical performance? We saw Dara Torres. She was in the 2008 Olympics, competing against women half her age, came in second, within 1/100th of a second of gold medal time. Amazing, really.
How old is she?
She is in her 40s. She was 46, I believe, when she competed. Yeah, and by the way, what makes it even more interesting is that she couldn't get anyone to sponsor her, so she paid for her own training because she had that influence. And here's what she said: you don't have to put an age limit on your dreams. And by the way, she inspired and motivated Lance Armstrong to get back in there and try to race some more. So she's had influence on men, not just women. So that's physical. What about other kinds of performance? I mean, job performance, productivity performance. We see Hillary Clinton. Whatever you think of her politics, we've seen her as a lawyer. We saw her as First Lady of her state, Arkansas, of the country, a senator from the United States, from New York, continuously reinventing herself, running for the President of the United States. And by the way, when she was running for president, she had a very interesting comment. She said, "My mother was born before women could vote, but in 2008, my daughter got to vote for her mother for president." I love that. And then, of course, she was chosen by her opponent to be Secretary of State, and she's got her hands full. Definitely does. But we're beginning to see women can continuously reinvent themselves. And it's not just that. We can be funny. We can be entertainers. Let me show you what I mean. Can we get more volume, please?
People to thank for being here, but I really have to thank Facebook. When I first heard about the campaign to get me to host Saturday Night Live, I didn't know what Facebook was. And now that I do know what it is, I have to say, it sounds like a huge waste of time. Are losers. That's only because I'm polite. People say, but Betty, Facebook is a great way to connect with old friends. Well, at my age, if I want to connect with old friends, I need a Ouija board.
So the question I want to ask each and every one of you to think about as you watch the rest of this presentation, as you go through your day, you could really, in fact, live to 80, 90, or 100, and are you prepared? I mean, there's great opportunities, and I do believe we, women, will be the ones pioneering the way for all of us, for men and women. But there are also challenges, especially for women, especially when women like your mothers, like I would say me, I fall into that category, take off time from work to care for aging parents, to care for our children. It really affects both our ability to be promoted, and it also affects our ability to put aside money for the long run, which becomes a huge and important issue, which, by the way,